Hello everyone, Chris Assis here, and today it's our video 1 for dynamic movement exploration. So the idea came from one of you who asked, how do we create dynamic movement without losing our posture and without getting stiff and feeling uncomfortable and insecure? So we're gonna start and our exploration here today, and it's gonna take us a couple weeks to finish it off. So it's gonna be all practices that are exploring what we need and what we need in order to create dynamic movement, and through the process of creating it, how our body needs to respond. So a few things before we start. Dynamic movement is not only the obvious things like a really high boleo or an intense kick or a jump or a dip. These are dynamic movements, but think of all the very simple stuff like your pacing maybe on the dance floor, normal speed, normal size steps, and suddenly there is an intense powerful part in the music and you suddenly speed your steps up, or you change the size of them, or you do a really fast giro or a really powerful sacada, right? So all these things, there are dynamic movements that are doable on the dance floor. So don't think that this is something to think about if you're doing only a performance like a tango scenario. Think of all these other things where your energy changes to suit the song. That can be considered dynamic movement. The second thing I want you to think about is and if we take, for example, let's just take, for example, the boleos, because it's going to give us a really good picture about this. So sometimes if you want to get faster, if you're going to get higher, if you want to make a more grand movement, let's put it that way, like really high boleo, for example, we think that we need to use more muscle. So what ends up happening is we get very much tensed. So here we're going to be thinking about how we can release that tension. So that is one of my goals for this sequence of videos. And the last thing, which is what we're going to start with today, is how we prepare ourselves in order to create comfortably dynamic movement. So, and this element is grounding. How can we feel that we are supported enough from the floor to be able to bang, do a movement with intensity, with power? Yes. So, because if we don't feel that support, it's never going to happen. It's always going to bring us into an intense block, and it's going to be very, very annoying and frustrating and probably painful. So in our practice today, we're going to be dealing with grounding, finding more support from the floor, and a little bit of an introduction to the things that I asked you to think about: how we treat muscle, how we manage the energy, and how we find the dynamics in circular and linear movements. Okay, so with no further ado, here we go. So we're going to start here with arm swings, but I want you to take a moment, find strength in the mid body, and then start swinging the arm. Put some movement into it just to get started, and then control the movement from the body and not from the arm. Oftentimes the extremities are used in a very strenuous way, and this involves and it refers to our arms and our legs. So we want to grab this opportunity to relax the arm and control its movement from the body. So as you can see, I'm changing the direction of the arm by changing how I move my body, and I want to encourage you to do the same. So we're going forward and back, and now we're going left and right and a little bit on a diagonal, making an arm ocho. Yeah. So and then I'm switching back to forward and back and to left and right and to little ochos and again and again and again. So change the direction of the arm movement by changing how the rest of your body moves. Feel that the arm is getting really long and it's swinging in various directions. Take a moment to relax between sets, readjust, and start again. So again, doing the other side, we add a little bit of movement, but notice how my knees are participating, my hips, my body, my whole upper body, my feet even, how they reach into the floor. So you don't want this to just be an arm swinging all over the place. This is controlled movement, even though it doesn't look like it. I am fully in control of that free arm. It's not going anywhere it wants. I am the one creating the motion, but I am using flow. I'm using power from the blood. It almost feels like the blood is reaching out of the fingertips. So I want you to feel that internal intensity that is created when you're using that element of the fluid element of blood. Yeah. So find it within you, control it through the body, and feel like you're going whoosh out. And take a moment to readjust and see that flexibility now. Test it out in the arms. As you're swinging left and right, notice though here that my legs are moving, my body is shifting. There we go. So you guys can see better. Is shifting from one foot to the other. Shift of weight with completely relaxed orangutan style arms. Yeah. So take a moment here to find that motion. And now, legs. We do exactly the same thing in the legs. Here you're gonna find it is more difficult. It could be because our connection with the floor is inevitable. Our legs are used to carrying our body somewhere. We now want to create a different, almost the opposite connection. Our body making our free leg travel, but at the same time, notice how my leg is not stuck. It's circling, the leg is circling inside the hip, and it is autonomous, but also connected. It's like a whip. Yeah. So you want to be in control of that whip. You want to create that motion forward and back and left and right. Feel the freedom of the free leg. Change sides when you feel ready. Yeah, I'm only turning here so you can see me a little better. So you can see here, there is a lot of focus on the one leg that's holding my axis, and less focus on the free leg. I'm not trying to make fancy moves here. I'm just swinging the leg, and even though I'm controlling it from the standing side, from the body, I'm allowing freedom. I'm allowing my leg to move inside my hip. Yeah. So try to do that. Try to create that combination. It might take a little bit of time, but it's definitely worth it. If you hear any cracks, if they're only gentle and they bring you a relief, they're good. Good news. There was something super tight there. If if you want to avoid any weird injury style cracks, be very careful and take your time with it. And then simply walk, orangutan style. Let the arms and the legs float into the movement. Let the body be the master, especially the central line from head to tail. Yeah. Okay. Now, a little bit more tangoing. I want you to find here the axis, yield through it to the floor, and then take a back step. Do the same thing over and over again. Don't just go from doing step after step after step. Take a moment, adjust your weight, yield through the axis, make a few swings to test the waters, and then, when you're ready, then take your step. Same thing for forward steps. So always take a moment to adjust. Always take a moment to give yourself the opportunity to yield through, to allow for the bones to find the proper alignment so you can easily extend that step and feel that your whole body is participating in that step. Yep. Do this a couple of times, as many times as you feel that you need to. Yes. Take moments in between, test your balance, test your connection with the floor. So, the other important element here that I want you to notice is, check the places where usually we find tension, like the neck and the shoulders. Notice how they are relaxed. Even here that I'm sort of losing my balance, but I'm taking my time not to push into the floor or against or towards or any of it. I'm just allowing myself to go towards the floor, to reach to the floor, to almost release towards the floor, but not in a bad way, not like letting go, but reaching through it through my legs. See, notice it here, how I'm starting from pushing to yielding and adjusting and allowing for my bones to settle. There. Every time, give yourself that opportunity to feel good at the end or the beginning or during each step. Allow yourself that comfort, that security. And now, surprise! So we're putting the two together. So this is, I'm not gonna lie, it might be challenging. So we want to put that separate exercise that we did, holding onto a bar or a wall before. We want to do it here with no partner to assist us with that balance. So use all the tips that you followed before. Use them here. They're very important, very, very vital. Yield towards the floor. Control the movement from your standing leg. Allow freedom and movement in the free leg. And do not rush. Don't push away from the floor, but allow for your bones to find the alignment so your muscle can settle. And the free leg, as you will see, it's not kicking with tension, with, in an aggressive way. It swings through. And this is very important, a very important detail that is very useful for our steps in general, how the leg swings through. Extra tip, the secret hides in the hips, in the glutes, in the spine, in your back. Hides anywhere else but in the kick. So a super duper kick, it's not going to teach you anything. What will teach you a lot is how are your hips moving when your leg is passing through? How is that free leg moving inside your hip? How can you find length in the spine without pushing away from the floor, but through yielding? How can you find flexibility in the spine without losing your balance, and balance without losing flexibility? Yeah, all these things can be taught through this intense swing, through this dynamic movement, if you don't just think about the kick. And lastly, go back to walking simply forward and back. This is important for various reasons. One, that you can get the details from the previous exercise to your normal tango walk. And two, to allow yourself to go back to a safe place. Always return, always start from a safe place, a place that you feel good, a place that you feel comforted, and a place that you can grab power and security from. So, this is it. Um, Try to take as much time as you need, not just repeating the flows, because just swinging the leg is not going to do it. Focus more on yielding towards the floor, not pushing away, but yielding through the axis, allowing for finding a place where bones can align and therefore muscles can relax. So this is what we are aiming for in this section, in this first section of our dynamic movement series. So you see already we have been, you know, trying to understand how relaxing is can be way more powerful than muscle, so as long as you do it correctly so you don't lose your balance, and how that feeds even into our normal, I mean non-dynamic movement. So that's why I wanted you to go back and forth between your forward and back steps with dynamic flicks, let's put it that way, and to just forward and back steps. I want you to use the experience of having to sway the leg, having to swing the leg. I want you to use that experience into your normal forward and back steps, because it can teach you a lot of how your body can find support without creating tension. So, how your body can find comfort throughout the dance, doing dynamic movements or not doing dynamic movements. So, enjoy, and we're going to add more to this next week. Have fun!